My name is Jan, and I am 58 years old. After 32 years of working night shifts as a nurse, I finally did something just for me. I bought a small cabin in the Colorado mountains with every penny I had saved. It was supposed to be my peaceful retreat, a place where I could finally breathe. But I never imagined that my own family would try to take it away from me. The nightmare started the very first evening I invited them over to see my new home. Before I tell you what happened that night, I would love to know where you are watching from. Please hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you will want to hear how I handled what came next. I spent 32 years taking care of other people. 3 decades of 12-hour shifts of holding hands in emergency rooms of missing family dinners because someone else needed me more. I loved my work. Truly. I did, but somewhere along the way I realized I had forgotten to take care of myself. Every paycheck I tucked a little bit away. $10 here, $20 there. While my coworkers bought new cars or went on vacations, I kept my old sedan running and dreamed of something different. When I turned 57, I started looking at real estate listings in mountain towns. Nothing fancy, nothing huge. Just somewhere quiet where I could wake up to birdsong instead of ambulance sirens. My daughter Sarah supported the idea completely. She would send me listings and say, "Mom, you deserve this. After everything you have done for everyone else, it is your turn." It took me 8 months to find the right place. Most cabins were either too expensive or too isolated, or needed too much work. Then one afternoon in March, my realtor sent me photos of a small 2-bedroom cabin about 15 miles outside a little town called Pine Ridge. The moment I saw it, something in my chest loosened. It sat among tall ponderosa pines with a view of the mountains that made me want to cry. The cabin itself was simple. Wood siding that had weathered to a soft grey, a stone chimney, and a wraparound porch with rocking chairs. I drove up the next weekend to see it in person. The afternoon light was coming through the windows in golden streams. The place smelled like pine and old wood, and when I stood on that porch looking out at the mountains, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace, real deep peace. The inside needed some cosmetic updates, but the bones were solid. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, with room for a small table, and a living room with a massive stone fireplace. It was perfect. I signed the papers 3 weeks later. For the first time in my life, I owned something that was completely mine. Not something I shared, not something I compromised on. Mine. I spent the next month driving up on weekends to clean and paint. I chose soft blues and creams for the walls. I brought up furniture piece by piece. A comfortable couch for reading. A sturdy table for the kitchen. Thick curtains to keep out the cold. Every choice was mine, and it felt like freedom. My daughter Sarah was thrilled for me. She is 30 years old and works as an elementary school teacher. We have always been close, especially after her father and I divorced when she was 12. She married Trevor 4 years ago. Trevor is 32 and works in real estate, which always seemed like a good match since he understands property and investments. He is tall, well-dressed, always smiling that professional smile. Polite, but distant. In 4 years, I never felt like I truly knew him. They have 2 children, my precious grandchildren. Emma is 7, all bright eyes and questions. Lucas is 5, still cuddly and sweet. I had been looking forward to having them visit the cabin, to making cookies in that little kitchen, and reading them stories by the fireplace. I imagined summers with them running through the trees and winters with hot chocolate and board games. I invited the whole family up for dinner on a Friday evening in late April. I wanted to share my joy with them, to show them what I had created. I cooked a pot roast with vegetables, made fresh bread, and set the table with candles. When their car pulled up, I was standing on the porch, practically vibrating with excitement. Sarah hugged me tight and whispered, "Mom, this is beautiful. I'm so proud of you." The kids ran inside, amazed by everything. Emma loved the loft space in the second bedroom. Lucas was fascinated by the fireplace. We ate dinner together, and it felt perfect. Sarah kept complimenting the cabin, asking about my plans for the garden in spring. I felt validated, seen happy. But Trevor was quiet. He walked through each room slowly, his eyes scanning everything. He opened closets, checked the windows, even went down to look at the basement storage area. At first I thought he was just being thorough using his real estate eye. But there was something calculating in the way he moved, like he was taking inventory of something that belonged to him. After dinner, we settled in the living room. I had a fire going, and the kids were playing with some toys I had bought for them. Sarah and I were talking about her students when Trevor suddenly spoke up. "Jean, this place is bigger than I thought. It could easily fit 4 people. I laughed, thinking he was making some kind of joke. Well, it is just me, so I have plenty of space to spread out. He did not laugh back. My parents are getting older. They need somewhere peaceful to retire. This would be perfect for them. The room went quiet except for the crackling fire. I looked at Sarah confused, but she was staring at her lap. I turned back to Trevor, sure I must have misunderstood. I am sorry, what? Trevor leaned forward, his hands clasped between his knees, that professional smile still on his face. My parents, Donald and Lorraine. They are both 68 now, and they have been talking about retiring. They need a quiet place somewhere affordable. You have that second bedroom just sitting empty. They could move in here with you. It would be perfect. I felt my stomach drop. Trevor, this is my home. I just bought it. For myself. He waved his hand dismissively. I understand that, but think practically. You are all alone out here. What if something happens? What if you fall or have a medical emergency? My parents could be here to help. You could help each other. It makes sense. I looked at Sarah again, waiting for her to say something, but she just looked miserable. I tried to keep my voice calm and polite. I appreciate your concern, Trevor, but I moved here specifically to have my own space. I am not looking for roommates. His smile tightened. Roommates. Jean, these are not roommates. They are family. And you have more space than you need, while they have nothing. My father just retired from the factory, and their pension is barely enough to cover rent where they are now. This would solve their problem. Trevor, I said more firmly, I bought this cabin with my own money. Money I saved for decades. This is my retirement, my space. I am not looking to share it. He sat back and, for just a second, I saw something cold flash across his face before the smile returned. Well, that is disappointing. I thought you would be more generous, especially since Sarah and I have been so supportive of you. Sarah finally spoke up, her voice small. Trevor, this is Mom's house. She just bought it. We cannot just ask her to let your parents move in. He turned to her with that same tight smile. I am not asking. I am suggesting something that would help my family. I thought Jean would want to help family. The rest of the evening was tense. Trevor made a few more comments about how much unused space I had, how lonely it must be out here, how his parents would be perfect companions. Each comment felt like a small barb. When they finally left, Sarah hugged me extra tight and whispered, I am sorry, Mom. I did not know he was going to say that. After they drove away, I sat in my beautiful living room and felt sick. This was supposed to be my sanctuary, and already someone was trying to claim it. The next week, Trevor called me 3 times. Each conversation started casually asking how I was settling in, commenting on the weather. Then he would circle back to his parents. Have you thought about what I mentioned? It really would be helpful for everyone. My father has arthritis, and my mother has high blood pressure. The mountain air would be so good for them. Each time I said no. Each time I tried to be polite but firm. Each time I felt more invaded. The third call was different. Jean, I need you to understand something. Sarah and I have been talking, and we really think this is the best solution. My parents are struggling. They raised me, sacrificed everything for me, and now they need help. You have the means to provide that help. Trevor, I said, trying to stay calm. I am sorry your parents are struggling, but this is not my responsibility. I worked my entire life for this place. It is mine. There was a long silence. Then he said in a voice that was almost conversational, "You know Sarah inherited your stubbornness, but I am patient. I think you will come around once you really think about it. Family takes care of family, Jean. Remember that." He hung up before I could respond. I stood there holding the phone, my hands shaking. This was not right. None of this was right. 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday afternoon, I was sitting on my porch reading when I heard a car coming up the drive. I was not expecting anyone, and my heart sank when I saw it was Trevor's SUV, but he was not alone. 2 older people got out of the back seat. Trevor walked up to the porch with a huge smile. "Jean, I brought my parents to meet you." "Mom, Dad, this is Jean." The woman, thin with tightly permed grey hair, looked at me with sharp eyes. "So this is the famous cabin. It is smaller than Trevor described." The man, stocky with a red face, grunted. "It will do." I stood up, completely caught off guard. "Trevor, I did not know you were coming. I would have appreciated a call first." "Oh, I wanted it to be a surprise," he said cheerfully. "I thought if you met my parents, you would see how perfect this arrangement would be. Come on, let us show them around." Before I could object, they walked right into my house. I followed, feeling like a stranger in my own home. Lorraine, Trevor's mother, immediately started critiquing everything. "This furniture is so old-fashioned. We would need to change this out. The kitchen is tiny, but I suppose it could work. Oh, and Donald, look at this second bedroom. This would be perfect for us." She was standing in my guest room, the one I had painted a soft lavender, the one where I had put a comfortable bed for when Sarah and the kids visited. Lorraine was measuring it with her eyes. "I could put my sewing table here by the window. We would need to move this bed out, of course, maybe into storage." Donald walked over to the window. "The view is decent. We would need better curtains, though. These let in too much light in the morning." I felt my face getting hot. "Excuse me, but I need to make something very clear. This is my home, and I am not looking for roommates or tenants or anyone to move in. Trevor should not have brought you here under false pretenses." Lorraine turned to me with a frown. "False pretenses," Trevor said. "You had generously offered to let us stay here." My mouth fell open. I looked at Trevor, who was standing in the doorway, looking completely unbothered. "That is absolutely not true. I never offered anything of the kind." Trevor shrugged. "I told them you were considering it. I thought once you met them, you would warm up to the idea." "I am not considering it," I said, my voice shaking now. "Trevor, this is inappropriate. I have told you multiple times that I am not interested in sharing this space." Donald stepped forward, his face getting redder. "Now you listen here. We are Trevor's parents. We raised that boy, put him through college, gave him everything. The least his family can do is help us out in our retirement. You have all this space just for yourself. That is selfish." Selfish. I felt anger rising in my chest, hot and righteous. I worked 32 years as a nurse. I saved every penny I could. I bought this place with my own money for my own retirement. That is not selfish. That is taking care of myself, which I have every right to do. Lorraine crossed her arms. "We have already started packing. Trevor told us we could move in next month." My head was spinning. This was insane. I looked at Trevor, who was still standing there with that infuriating smile. "You had no right to tell them that. This is my property, mine. I make the decisions about who lives here, and the answer is no. No one is moving in." "You are being ridiculous," Donald snapped. "We are family." "No," I said firmly. "You are Trevor's family, not mine. And even if you were, that would not give you the right to my home. I need you all to leave, now." The silence that followed was thick and ugly. Lorraine looked at Trevor with wide eyes. "You said she had agreed." "I thought she would by now," Trevor said, and for the first time his smile slipped. "Jean, you are being unreasonable." "Get out of my house," I said quietly, "all of you, now." They left in a cloud of offended huffs and angry muttering. Trevor was the last one out, and he paused at the door. "This is not over, Jean. My parents need help, and you have the means to provide it. One way or another, we are going to work this out. There is nothing to work out, I said. Do not come back here uninvited. After they left, I locked every door and window and sat in my living room shaking. How had my peaceful retirement turned into this nightmare? That night I could not sleep. I kept replaying the confrontation in my head, feeling violated and angry. The next morning I called Sarah. She answered on the third ring, and I could tell immediately that she had been crying. Mom, I'm so sorry. I did not know he was going to do that. I swear I did not know. Sarah, what is going on? Why is Trevor acting like this? She took a shaky breath. He has been planning this for months, Mom. Even before you bought the cabin. When you first told us you were looking at places, he started talking about how his parents could live with you. I told him it was a terrible idea, that you deserved your own space, but he would not listen. He kept saying that you owed it to the family, that you had more than you needed. I owed it, I was incredulous. Sarah, I do not owe anyone anything. I worked my whole life for this. I know, Mum. I know. But Trevor sees it differently. He keeps bringing up how you helped me pay for college, how you have always been there for us financially. He thinks that means you should help his parents now. And he is convinced that because I will eventually inherit the cabin, it is kind of already his anyway. My blood ran cold. Is that what this is about? He sees my home as his future investment. Sarah was crying now. I have tried to talk to him, but he gets so defensive. He says I'm not being supportive of his family. Mom, I feel stuck in the middle. Stuck in. Sweetheart, you are not in the middle. This is between Trevor and me. You do not have to fix this. But he is my husband, and you are my mother. I do not know what to do. We talked for another 20 minutes. I reassured her that I loved her, that this was not her fault that I would handle Trevor. But after I hung up, I felt a deep sadness. My son-in-law was trying to manipulate and control me, and it was hurting my daughter in the process. Over the next few days, Trevor continued his campaign. He sent long emails explaining his parents' financial situation, their health problems, their need for peace and quiet. Each email was carefully worded to make me feel guilty, to paint me as the villain in this story. He called twice more, and each time I did not answer. He left voicemails that started friendly and ended with thinly veiled threats. Jean, I hope you are reconsidering. Sarah is really upset about all this. The kids are confused about why they cannot visit Grandma's cabin anymore. You do not want to damage your relationship with your grandchildren, do you? That message made me so angry I had to go for a long walk to calm down. He was using my grandchildren as leverage. That was a new low. Then on a Thursday afternoon, Trevor showed up at the cabin alone. I saw his car through the window and considered not answering the door. But I knew I needed to face this head on. I opened the door, but did not invite him in. What do you want, Trevor? He did not smile this time. We need to talk. Really talk. I have nothing more to say to you. Jean, you need to understand something. You are putting Sarah in a terrible position. She feels awful about this. My parents are hurt and confused. This is tearing the family apart, and it is your fault. My fault, I stared at him in disbelief. Trevor. You are the one who created this entire situation. You told your parents they could move into my house without asking me. You have been harassing me for weeks. This is on you. His face hardened. My parents have already sold some of their furniture. They told their landlord they are leaving. They are counting on this Jean. Then they are going to be disappointed, because I never agreed to any of this. He stepped closer, and I instinctively moved back. Fine. Let me be clear then. If you refuse to help my parents, Sarah and I are going to have to reconsider our relationship with you. The kids will not be coming to visit. You will not be part of their lives. Is that what you want? To lose your grandchildren because you are too selfish to share your extra space? My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. That is called blackmail, Trevor, and it will not work. He smiled then, but it was not friendly. It was calculating. You know, Jean, legally speaking, this cabin is going to be Sarah's someday, which means it will be mine too since we are married. So really, you are just borrowing it for a while. Why not just let my parents use it now? Save everyone a lot of trouble. I felt ice run through my veins. Get off my property, now. Think about what I said. My parents are moving in this weekend. I will bring a truck on Saturday morning. Please have the room ready. And he left, just like that, as if it were already decided. I stood on my porch watching him drive away, and something shifted inside me. I had spent my whole life being accommodating, being the good nurse, the good mother, the good person who helped everyone else. But this was too much. Trevor was not just asking for help. He was trying to take what was mine. He was manipulating, threatening, and trying to steamroll over my boundaries. No more. I was done being pushed around. That evening, I made a plan. I was not going to be a victim in this situation. I was going to take control. The next morning, I drove into town and met with a lawyer named Patricia Henderson. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she sat back and looked at me seriously. "Jean, this is absolutely your property. You have every legal right to refuse anyone entry or residence. Your son-in-law has no claim whatsoever. In fact, what he is doing could be considered harassment." That is what I thought, but I needed to hear it from a professional. What I recommend is this. First, we draw up a very clear will that specifies exactly how you want your property handled. We can include provisions that protect your daughter while ensuring your son-in-law has no control over the cabin. Second, I am going to draft a formal cease and desist letter to Trevor. If he continues this behavior, you can pursue a restraining order. I felt relief wash over me. Thank you. That is exactly what I need. We spent the next 2 hours going over paperwork. When I left her office, I had a folder full of documents and a much clearer sense of my rights. Next, I went to the Pine Ridge Police Department. I explained the situation to an officer named Deputy Martinez. He was sympathetic and understanding. "Ma'am, since this is your property, you have absolute right to refuse entry to anyone. If your son-in-law shows up uninvited, you can call us, and we will remove him for trespassing. I would recommend you document everything. Keep records of all communication." I thanked him and left feeling more empowered with each step. My final stop was an electronics store, where I purchased a home security camera system. That evening, I installed cameras at the front door, back door, and driveway. If Trevor tried anything, I would have proof. Saturday morning arrived cold and bright. I woke up at 6 and made myself a strong pot of coffee. I knew Trevor would show up, and I wanted to be ready. I dressed carefully in jeans and a sweater, tied my hair back, and waited. At 9 o'clock, I heard the sound of a truck engine. I looked out the window and saw Trevor's SUV followed by a large moving truck. My heart pounded, but I stayed calm. I had prepared for this. Trevor got out first, then his parents emerged from the SUV. Donald and Lorraine looked triumphant. The truck driver started opening the back, revealing furniture and boxes. They had actually packed everything. I stepped out onto the porch. Trevor saw me and waved. "Good morning, Jean. We are here. Where should we start unloading?" "Actually, Trevor, before anyone unloads anything, I need you all to come inside. I have prepared something special for your arrival." He looked surprised but pleased. "See, Mom, I told you she would come around." He turned to his parents. I knew she just needed time to think about it. They all followed me inside. I had set up the living room carefully. On the coffee table sat 3 large manila envelopes, one for each of them. I gestured for them to sit. "Please make yourselves comfortable. I want to properly welcome you, so I prepared these for each of you." Lorraine actually smiled, perhaps the first genuine smile I had seen from her. "Oh, how thoughtful. What is this?" Trevor picked up his envelope and opened it. His face went from curious to confused to pale in about 10 seconds. Inside were several documents, and he started pulling them out one by one. The first document was a letter from my attorney printed on official letterhead, clearly stating that the cabin was my sole property and that I had the absolute right to refuse residence to anyone I chose. It also stated that any further harassment would result in legal action. The second document was a copy of the new will I had just signed. It specified that upon my death, the cabin would go to Sarah, but with a clause that Trevor would have no rights to it unless Sarah chose to give them to him. If they divorced, the cabin would remain solely Sarah's property. The third document was a formal notification that I had installed security cameras around the property. Any attempt to enter without permission would be recorded and reported to the police. The fourth document was a pre-written restraining order application, ready to be filed with the court if necessary. All it needed was my signature and one more incident of harassment. Trevor's hands were shaking as he held the papers. You cannot do this. I sat down in my armchair perfectly calm. I absolutely can. This is my property, Trevor, mine. I bought it with my own money. I make the decisions about who lives here, and I have decided that your parents will not be moving in. Neither will you. Neither will anyone without my explicit invitation. Donald grabbed the envelope with his name and ripped it open. His contained similar documents, plus a letter from my attorney formally informing him that he had no legal claim to this property, and that any attempt to move in would be treated as trespassing. "This is ridiculous," he sputtered. "We already sold our furniture. We told our landlord we are leaving." "That was your choice," I said evenly. "I never agreed to any of this, not once. Your son lied to you." Lorraine turned on Trevor. "You said she had agreed. You said it was all arranged." Trevor's face was red now. I thought she would. I thought once she understood the situation, she would be reasonable. Reasonable? I leaned forward. "Let me tell you what is reasonable, Trevor. Reasonable is respecting someone's boundaries when they say no. Reasonable is not trying to manipulate and threaten your way into someone's home. Reasonable is understanding that I have every right to live my own life the way I choose." "You are being cruel," Lorraine said, her voice shaking with anger. "We are family. How can you do this to family?" I looked at her directly. I worked as a nurse for 32 years. I sacrificed time with my own daughter to take care of strangers. I saved every penny I could for decades to buy this place. This is my retirement, my dream, my peace. You are not entitled to it just because your son married my daughter. I am not being cruel. I am setting boundaries. And if you cannot respect that, then we have nothing more to discuss. Trevor stood up abruptly. "Sarah will never forgive you for this." I pulled out my phone calmly. "Should I call the police now, or are you going to leave peacefully?" The room went silent. Donald looked like he wanted to argue more, but Lorraine grabbed his arm. "Let us go. This woman is heartless." They moved toward the door. Trevor stopped and turned back. "This is not over." "Yes, it is," I said firmly. "If you come back here uninvited, if you continue to harass me in any way, I will file that restraining order. And I will make sure Sarah knows exactly what you have been doing. Every threat, every manipulation. Do not test me, Trevor." He stared at me for a long moment, then walked out. Through the window, I watched as they stood by the moving truck, arguing. The truck driver looked confused. Finally, Trevor gestured angrily, and they started loading the furniture back into the truck. It took them over an hour. I sat on my porch the entire time watching, making sure they understood that I meant every word. When they finally drove away, leaving dust clouds on my driveway, I went inside and locked the door. My hands were shaking now, adrenaline draining out of me. But underneath the shakiness was something else: pride, strength, relief. I had stood up for myself. I had protected my boundaries. It felt terrifying and wonderful at the same time. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Sarah. She was crying before she even said hello. "Mom, Trevor just came home. He is furious. He told me what happened. I did not even know he was planning to move them in today." "I know, sweetheart. I know this is not your fault," she sobbed. "He is saying terrible things about you. He says you humiliated his parents, that you kicked them out with nowhere to go." "But Mom, they never asked you properly, did they?" "No, they did not. Trevor decided on his own and told them I had agreed. He lied to everyone, including you." There was a long pause. "I think I have been making excuses for him for a long time. The way he is acting, the things he is saying right now. This is not okay, is it?" "No, honey, it is not. And I am sorry you are caught in the middle, but I cannot let anyone take away what I worked for, not even family. You should not have to. I have been thinking a lot lately, Mum, about how Trevor makes decisions without asking me, about how he controls things. I thought I was being a good wife by supporting him, but this crossed a line. His parents are adults. If they need help, there are other solutions. They cannot just take over your life. We talked for almost 2 hours. Sarah told me things I had not known. How Trevor made major financial decisions without consulting her. How he criticized her spending, but never his own. How he expected her to prioritize his family over everything else. This situation with the cabin was just the most extreme example of a pattern she had been ignoring. I think I need to see a counselor, she said finally. Maybe a marriage counselor, but Trevor will never go, so maybe just for me. I think that is a very wise decision, sweetheart. I am proud of you. I am proud of you too, Mom. What you did today took courage. I know it was not easy. After we hung up, I felt emotionally exhausted, but also lighter. My relationship with my daughter was intact. In fact, it was stronger than before. Trevor had tried to drive a wedge between us, but instead he had shown both of us what healthy boundaries looked like. Over the next few weeks, Trevor tried a few more tactics. He sent me a long email blaming me for his parents' homelessness. I did not respond. He sent another email saying that Donald had ended up in the hospital with stress-related chest pains, and it was my fault. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who sent another cease and desist letter. He tried calling from different numbers. I blocked them all. Donald and Lorraine attempted to contact me through social media, posting vague messages about ungrateful people and family betrayal. A few mutual acquaintances called to ask what was going on, having heard rumors. I explained the situation calmly and honestly. Most people were supportive. A few thought I should have compromised, but I stood firm. This was not about compromise. This was about my right to my own life. Eventually, the harassment slowed and then stopped. I heard through Sarah that Donald and Lorraine had found an apartment near Trevor and Sarah's house. They were fine. They had always been fine. This had never been about desperation. It had been about entitlement. Sarah started coming to the cabin more often, sometimes with the kids, sometimes alone. We would sit on the porch with tea and talk about real things. Her marriage, her fears, her dreams. Trevor rarely came, and when he did, he was coldly polite. He had realized he could not win this battle, but he was not gracious in defeat. One Saturday afternoon, Sarah came alone. We sat on the porch watching the sunset paint the mountains pink and gold. She turned to me with tears in her eyes. Mom, I am thinking about separating from Trevor. I have been seeing a therapist for 2 months now, and she has helped me see how much I have been accepting that I should not have been accepting. This thing with the cabin was just the most obvious example. I took her hand. I will support you whatever you decide. But I want you to know that you deserve to be respected. You deserve a partner who treats you as an equal. I know, it is scary though. The kids, the house, everything. Scary is okay. Scary means you are doing something important. Sarah stayed for dinner that night, and we cooked together in my small kitchen. We did not talk about heavy things. We just enjoyed being together, mother and daughter, without the weight of manipulation and control hanging over us. 6 months have passed since that terrible Saturday morning. The leaves have turned gold and red, and winter is coming to the mountains. I sit on my porch most mornings, with coffee wrapped in a thick blanket, watching the sunrise over the peaks. My life has become what I dreamed it would be. Peaceful, quiet, mine. I joined a book club in town and made friends with 3 women around my age. We meet every other Thursday to discuss novels and drink wine and laugh about getting older. I started volunteering at the small medical clinic in Pine Ridge 2 days a week. Not because I have to, but because I want to, on my terms. I took a watercolor painting class and discovered I am terrible at it, but I love it anyway. My living room walls now feature my truly awful paintings of mountains and trees, and they make me smile every time I look at them. I started a small garden in the spring, and even though the growing season is short up here, I managed to grow tomatoes and herbs. The first time I made pasta sauce from my own tomatoes, I cried with joy. Sarah visits most weekends now. Sometimes she brings the kids and we have the grandmother-grandchild time I always dreamed of. We bake cookies and build forts and read stories. Sometimes she comes alone and we talk about her life, her therapy, her growing understanding of what she wants. She has not left Trevor yet, but she has started setting boundaries with him. She opened her own bank account. She makes plans without asking his permission. She is finding her own strength. Trevor still has not apologized. I do not expect him to. But he has stopped trying to control me, and that is all I need. Donald and Lorraine send passive-aggressive Christmas cards, but I have learned to throw them away without reading them. Their bitterness is not my burden to carry. My cabin stands quiet in the mountains exactly as I wanted. The stone fireplace warms the living room on cold nights. The porch offers me a view that takes my breath away every single day. The second bedroom remains a guest room painted lavender, waiting for Sarah and the kids when they visit. It is mine. Completely, totally, peacefully mine. I have learned something important in these past months. Setting boundaries is not selfish. Protecting your peace is not cruel. Saying no is a complete sentence. For decades, I took care of everyone else. I was the nurse who stayed late, the mother who sacrificed the person who always helped. And there is value in that. But there is also value in taking care of yourself, in claiming your own space, your own life, your own happiness. Sometimes the people who demand the most from us are the ones who give the least. Trevor demanded I give up my dream, my hard-earned retirement, my peace for his convenience. And when I refused, he tried to use guilt manipulation and threats to force me to comply, but I held firm. Not because I am heartless, but because I finally understood my own worth. I spent decades caring for others. Now I am caring for myself, and that does not make me selfish. It makes me whole. It makes me someone who respects herself enough to have boundaries. It makes me someone who understands that love should not require you to sacrifice your own well-being. My cabin is more than just a house. It is a symbol of everything I worked for, everything I dreamed of, everything I deserve. And I protected it, not with anger or revenge, but with clarity and strength. I did not try to hurt Trevor or his parents. I simply refused to let them take what was mine. That is a victory I am proud of. As I sit here in the early morning light, wrapped in my blanket, watching steam rise from my coffee cup, I feel something I had not felt in years. Complete peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of self-respect. I know who I am now. I know what I deserve. And I will never apologize for protecting that. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember this. Your peace is not up for negotiation. Your boundaries are not suggestions. Your life is yours to live, and you do not owe anyone pieces of yourself just because they demand them. Protect what you have built. Stand firm in your worth. You have earned your peace. Do not let anyone take it from you. Have you ever had someone in your life who tried to take advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about standing up for yourself. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that you deserve peace, respect, and a life that is truly your own. May you always have the courage to protect what matters most.